New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you here this morning on the New Thought Media Network. And this is The Growing Edge. Happens every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And this is just kind of an opportunity for us to be together and look at, well, what's going on in this ministry, in this work, in New Thought in general. A weekly look at the practices and processes of living in oneness. Practices and processes of living in oneness. So, excuse me. What does it really mean to live in oneness? Now, this is going to sound pretty interesting because here's the rub. Pedophiles, racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia. There are a ton of expressions out there. A ton of a vast number of ways that people show up in the world that I don't agree with. And I highly doubt I'm ever going to agree with. Now, have I made in my past sexist remarks? Yeah. Have I in the past been a racist? Yes. Have I been a pedophile? No. No, never. Not even when I was 18. No. And there is a strain within the New Thought belief system that would say that we have to be okay with that. We have to accept those people as they are. And then we have to, and then offer them an opportunity for healing. I don't know about that. I agree with offer the opportunity for healing. But I don't know that I have to be, and that any of us have to accept these things as, well, that's what you were brought up to believe. So let's have a conversation. Let's see if we can help you heal that, get over that. I got these new earbuds. Taking me a little use. I don't need them. We're sitting here talking. I don't need them. I need them when we're playing videos so I can hear when to talk. We're here to, I believe, each one of us, we're here to walk each other home. That's a phrase I'm borrowing from a friend, Rev Steph St. Amand. And in that, if we're walking each other home, that implies that I'm here as a friend to support you and make sure you get home safely. Now, what is home in this? Well, I believe in this home is coming back to that recognition of the oneness, of the allness, that deeply we are one. So, yes, the pedophile, the racist, the sexist, all part of the oneness. But I don't have to engage in that activity. I don't have to condone that belief system. If anything, I believe it is our call to call that out. And there are those that say, no, we're not allowed to call things out. We're, no, we're not allowed to call. We don't call things out. We work only on our inside and in our consciousness. But that absolutely invalidates the concept of taking inspired action. If that's all it is, then I never have to even leave the house. I don't even need to turn on the computer. I don't need to have a conversation with you. We don't need to explore this topic. I just need to get clear with myself that there's no such thing as racism and we're okay. Yeah, nope. That is not, no. We have to be willing. This is a human world. I was talking with a friend today, and what we know in this philosophy is that we truly are not separate beings. We are all part of the one. And yet in the human world, we live in that world. We live in that world of being unique. Now, we have to be very, very careful how we share this philosophy, because it can come off sounding incredibly arrogant. It's all in consciousness, right? We're all one. There's no separation. Go walk up to the family of George Floyd and tell them that there is no separation, that there's no racism in America. And then after someone punches you and you stand up, then we can have a conversation about cause and effect. And we can have a conversation about how effective it is to just throw these statements out. We have to be, I believe, this philosophy of New Thought is best learned in community. Now, I want you to know, Facebook is not a community. As much as we try to build community over there, as much as this network has a presence there, and as much as even beyond this network. It's interesting. Most of the conversations I'm involved with today have nothing to do with this ministry. They have everything to do with the philosophy upon which we stand. And here's my point. The philosophy evolves. It changes. Our understanding of the philosophy evolves and changes. And that's no different than if we're talking about Socrates or Anaxander or Plato or Pluto or Dr. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind or Charles Fillmore and the Unity movement. No matter where we fall in this concept of New Thought, well, our history is going to have some baggage to it. But if we don't clean up the baggage, then the baggage becomes the sacred cow, and we all know what happens there. So the truth of it is, I believe there is a great reformation happening. There is a great revelation happening right now in New Thought, in the midst of New Thought. Right? So here's the experience. Conversation is started in a group. The group is aligned with religious science and New Thought and Science of Mind and this philosophy. It's filled with a lot of ministers and a lot of practitioners and a lot of other folk. Something like 13,000 people in that group. And a conversation is begun. Well, some people start bringing politics into it. I'm sorry, this one's small. This is only a 5,000 member group. So there's 5,000 people in this group. The other group is a bit larger. And the conversation is the problem of white supremacy and racism in New Thought. Now, this is not to make the founders of this philosophy wrong in any way. But we I believe we do have to recognize that there was limited thinking in our background, that there were those in our history that had very limited perspectives of the world. Not everybody, but some. And much of that belief system has survived, continued, persevered, maintained, whatever you want to call it. And as a movement, I think we are also at a tipping point where more and more and more of our members are stepping up and saying, no, that's not going to fly around here anymore. We're not going to put up with burying our head in the sands and looking the other way so we don't cause a stir so nobody gets upset. Today's growing edge, I believe, is recognizing that personal accountability is directly tied to social and community accountability. If you live in a community and the agreement in the community, or perhaps even the law in the community, is that you shovel your driveway within 24 hours of the end of a snowstorm. Now, that's the general rule here in Colorado. I know there's some municipalities that have it differently and some, but overall, the general concept is from the time the storm ends, you've got 24 hours to clear your sidewalks. Most people in Colorado are way ahead of that time frame, way out in front of that. And then there are those that 2, 3, 4 days later, their sidewalks are still icy and you can't walk on them. It's dangerous for everybody else. Common courtesy. Now, personal responsibility is that person's, hey, I need to go out and shovel my walk. When that doesn't happen, society stands up. The community stands up. Now, that might look like someone knocking on the door and saying, hey, do you need help shoveling your walk? Because I notice it's getting a little past when the storm ended, and if you need some help, I'm happy to grab a shovel and hit that for you. We don't know the situation. I don't know who's living in that house. I don't believe the effective way to address something like that is to knock on the door and say, why haven't you shoveled your driveway? Oh my God, how bad of a person are you that you haven't shoveled your walkway? I almost killed myself on your walkway. A very different consciousness there. So how we approach the issues in this movement in our world, because this is not just in New Thought, right? We know this is a problem. This is something that's raising up in really dramatic ways to be healed. I'm just talking about this one conversation in this one segment of society that one portion of is dragging their feet, not getting on board with it, not evolving, not growing, not moving into the newness. I saw one of those posts today. It said, when I was a kid, I got spanked. And I didn't develop trust issues, and I didn't do this, and I didn't do that. I turned out just fine. Well, your turning out just fine is a debatable subject in my mind at this point. And I know there's no way that person would ever be watching this program. Although I wish he would. I really do. Is this person at one time was a licensed religious science practitioner, is no longer a practitioner, is no longer associated with Science of Mind, Centers for Spiritual Living. I can't say whether he still believes in the New Thought principles and the practices and the processes of this philosophy. And what we're here today is to talk about the practices and the processes, right? So I'm setting all this up for you to share what I believe are effective processes and practices around this, right? Because we're all running into it. If you're awake and you're alive and you're on Facebook, you're running into racist, white supremacists, probably on a daily basis. And you might say, oh, no, I don't know any people like that. I'm a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I'm a minister. I don't know anybody like that. Let's have a conversation. Most likely there's somebody in your friends list. I would highly doubt there isn't. Because so much of the white supremacist culture has been ingrained in people from birth. So no, they don't consider them, and they'll get incredibly offended if you suggest that what they're saying might be offensive to people of color. Right? No matter how soft or how casual you, or how approachable, there are those that are just going to be offended. No, you're wrong. I'm right. F you. Get out of here. Okay. See you later. Bye. I will be removing you from this group. You will no longer be allowed to post your racist opinions in this group. And good luck with your life. I'll pray for you. In where I believe the growing edge of new thought, I believe, is a radical embrace of inclusivity. Radical inclusivity. Yes, I include you. Yes, those folks are all part of God. They are all part of the oneness. And I refuse to condone misbehavior by my silence any longer. I have someone today tell me, we are neutral. And nope, I can't be neutral. There is no way I can allow myself to be neutral in the face of how some people are misusing the law, the universal law of co-creation. We are the vehicle through which God is birthing a new vision for humanity, a new vision on the world. For any one of us to be silent about that is malpractice. I say it. I'll say it. I had this thought preparing for today, and that somebody is going to claim that there is a great purge, that we are purging the conservatives from religious science and from new thought. I've actually seen inklings of that already. That people, now it's tough to tell if they're trolls or not, so I'm tracking these folks, and one of them is pretty much, I'm pretty sure, a troll. Nothing but aggression, nothing but argument, not willing to have a conversation, blocking me immediately upon asking any simple question. And others, I think, have been living a life that has led them to such a deep sense of rightness, and often whiteness. The coming weeks, we're going to be talking about the lie of whiteness. Need to get friend Reverend Dr. David Alexander to come in and join us on that. He's got a great program. They're getting ready to launch, The Lie of Whiteness. I'll tell you more about that in the future. But for today, I do not see religious science, new thought, or the Centers for Spiritual Living, who I do not speak for. I do not represent the official organization of Centers for Spiritual Living, other than I am a minister. I am a licensed minister of that organization. But I cannot say that CSL, what they do or what they're not doing, or what that organization is. I'm not in leadership. I can point you to the people. If you want to ask those questions of the people in leadership, I can point you to the right people. But I do not see a wholesale purge of conservative voices or perspectives within New Thought. What I do see is that over time, those voices do not find fertile ground within this philosophy to proliferate, to grow. I have watched all kinds of people with very conservative, sometimes very awfully alt-right belief systems come into this philosophy, make use of its teachings, and do good, and change and shift and become different and become someone other than, and use the promise of this philosophy to create a better life for themselves. And there are others that come in to find this philosophy, come in here and are adamant that we have to keep things the way we are. Even those that have been around for 50 years and want to keep things the way they were within New Thought. This is a growing teaching philosophy. If we're not growing into something new, and we could go on and on and on and on with how Holmes would. Holmes has written that this philosophy and communism are in no way compatible. So anybody comes in the room wants to call me a commie, I think you got a misperception there. Let's have a conversation about that. If you want to call me a commie and then block me and run away, not much I can do about it. I encourage all of us to be in the question, what is New Thought becoming? What is this philosophy becoming? Beyond organizations, right? Now, I believe at the very beginning, because that's a tricky question too, right? The philosophy, New Thought, well, I don't know that needs to become anything. I think New Thought, there's what needs to change is us. We need to become more open, more receptive, more willing, more giving, more compassionate, more loving, more light, more prayerful, more active. Being the demonstration of this philosophy. There's an old saying that floats around that doesn't get used very often, but I was reminded of it recently. And the first place I ever heard this was Reverend Dr. Fred Vogt. And I never got to meet Dr. Fred. I knew his wife fairly well after he had gone, and she and I became friends and colleagues. And living in and around Mile High for a number of years, you don't hang out around Mile High without getting to know Dr. Fred and what he did. And at one point he had a saying that said, if you were pulled into a court of law, if you were brought up on charges of being a religious scientist, of being a New Thought philosophy, of living this philosophy, if you were called up on charges, if you were brought in on charges of being a religious scientist, would there be enough evidence to convict you? Some of the people I'm engaged with today, no, there's not. There's not enough evidence on their feed. There's not enough evidence in their language. There's not enough evidence in their behavior to say that you are an adherent of the New Thought philosophy. Maybe you're just learning. Maybe you're just coming in the door. Maybe you've been around a long, long time, but you're not practicing the principles anymore. That happens. It's okay. No judgments. Let's just help support people in getting back on track. Religious science of mind, New Thought, is the greatest spiritual impulsion of the last century and beyond, and out into the future too. I believe we do ourselves a disservice when we hide behind the it's all good and we do our work only in consciousness and being neutral and accepting everyone and everything. That is a grand vision, and I would love to get there. And I do envision a world where we have eliminated racism and we can live the promise of oneness. I look forward to a world where we have done away with race-based hatred and violence, where we have done away with transphobia, where we have done away with these social ills, where we have healed all of that and live in a world where we are truly neutral. But we're not there, folks. As long as there's somebody with a gun waving it at somebody else, as long as there's somebody with a fist waving it at somebody else, as long as there's somebody with a tongue wagging it at somebody else, making them wrong, we're not there. And so until we are there, we have to be willing to say, this is my truth, and point to and say, and that is not, and I will not support it. It doesn't mean we have to attack the people. Please don't attack the people. Please don't attack people. But we have to voice our concern for the beliefs that people espouse. And not just that's wrong and you're stupid. Yeah, there's another label. There's calling people names, right? We're not attacking the people. We are attacking, we are discussing, we are exploring, we are healing the behaviors and the belief patterns and the beliefs that lead to those behaviors. Right? At the root of it all comes back to fear. Why do whites fear blacks? So many of us were taught. They're dirty, not good enough, violent, come from the cities, do drugs. All the crap we laid on top of entire generations and generations of people. The time is now to heal it. I am personally committed to healing it. And this ministry and what I believe about everybody in it, everybody that represents this ministry, everybody that speaks on this ministry, I am fully confident that everybody in this ministry is as anti-racist as possible, is actively working against the belief systems that lead to racism. And some people might get called out along the way. Some people might feel offended along the way. But I want you to know it's never personal. More often than not, the conversations I have are in the background or privately. So nobody even sees them. No, it's not public. I'm not here to shame people. I will, if that's the only choice you leave me. If you bail on a conversation after dropping a couple of bombs on people, well, I'm not here to publicly shame you, but I will let people know that I tried to track you down and you called me names. I will let them know what your behavior was in those conversations. And together, I believe we can heal this. Because it's not about people. It is. And it's not about... It's about how we change this. How we come together as a humanity. As humans. And change this. And heal this. Do you join me for a moment of prayer? Because what I know is I know right here, right now, in this moment, there is only one power, one presence, one infinite intelligence, and I call that God. And I know that one God operating as billions upon billions of lives. There's 7 billion plus ways of knowing God. 7 billion different people on the planet, 7 billion different ways to experience God. The oneness. And so deeply we are one, and in that deepness, in that oneness, I honor and respect all the various ways of coming to God, all the various aspects of coming to know the good, the God, the greatness. I applaud and celebrate and share and uplift and inspire those working to create good on the planet, to bring forth a world that works for all. And I stand in defiance of anyone that may attempt to misuse this law in harm of another, in accusation in another, in a judgment of another. Because what I know is I know God is a great and glorious God. It is oneness. It is the everything. It is beyond personality. It is beyond judgment. It is beyond I like you or I don't like you. It is beyond right or wrong. And while we each stand as creations of this divine oneness, and as we each have the ability to express that oneness, as we each have the opportunities to express that oneness, we stand at choice. And that choice allows for the rejection of the truth. The choice leads us to an opportunity to turn away from the truth, to think the ego knows more than the divine. I turn to the divine. I let the perfection of God's life, of no separation, of absolute truth, absolute health and wealth and well-being, I let that be the image, the vision of which I ascribe, of which I attain myself. And recognize that in this humanness, I must move through the experiences of learning and growing and living and evolving. So I am open this day. I am open and allowing to letting the good flow, to letting God express itself as my life in ways I may never have imagined, and yet what I trust and know must be good, must be leading me to my greatness. And I am grateful for this truth, for this word, for this opportunity. Grateful to know God's got it, and I'm going to let it be. And so it is. Thank you, dear ones. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'm Reverend Robert. I'm running a couple minutes over, and I appreciate you being with me. Next programming, what do we got coming up today? Let's see. It's Tuesday, and that means that coming up at 2 o'clock, it's New Thought Today with my dear brother, Reverend Elzia, and I were with you from 2 to 3 on the Mountain Time Zone, and then at 3 o'clock, the Vibrant Living Hour with our friend Ken Ludwig. If you haven't had a chance to catch an episode of the Vibrant Living Hour just yet, please do. Relatively new show, Ken's with about a month or so now, and he's starting to hit his stride and starting to really bring forward some great stuff. Let's live a vibrant life together. I'm Reverend Robert. I'm going to get out of here for now, let you get back into your day. We look forward to seeing you. Hey, please do hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Please give us a subscription. We're really working to build our subscriber base up to 1,000. And thank you for your contributions as always. Matter of fact, let's say thank you to a couple of our supporters in what I trust you'll find to be a unique way. Come on.